So, good evening, everybody. I haven't done one of these in a little while. Last time I did one, I couldn't upload it to TikTok or YouTube, and I'm sorry about that. But wanted to do this one because we are watching something spin out of control, and I am getting concerned. Um, as you know, 2 weeks ago, Trump started a war with Iran. Um, basically, excuse me. Basically, He woke up on a Saturday morning at 1 a.m. and said, with all the people that had been bugging him, Netanyahu, Lady Lindsay, and said, "Fuck it, let's do this," and he did. And they did it because, let's be honest, Donald Trump and the regime cannot distinguish between brown people. Okay? So, let me tell you where I'm coming with that as I get a little more comfortable here. Coming with that because he thought everything would be exactly like what happened in Venezuela. You go in there, you bomb them a little, maybe send in a few special forces, and get rid of the Ayatollah. It's all done. 3 days later, they give him what he wants. Maybe they'll get control of oil, more oil for us, okay? But again, this is a man who has no empathy for anybody else, who does not think that people would think differently than him, okay? So what they did is that they thought it would be like the bombing of Iraq, and thank you for those. We'll let the goal keep going, just keep adding on. He thought it would just be like what they did in Baghdad, shock and awe. Do you remember those terms? Well, you have to understand, the Iranians have been dealing with this for quite a long time in America. You have to go back in history, and I want everyone to kind of look back. You can find pictures of Iraq in the late 50s, early 60s, probably late 50s, showing a very different society you see now. Men and women just being Western, women going to college. They had a democracy, and it was getting very big because it was built on oil, the oil that was being there. But this is what happened was the United States, the oil companies it kept stiffing the Iranian government, their royalties. So it got to the point that the Iranian government said, fine, let's go ahead and we're going to nationalize. We're going to nationalize the oil industry. And by doing so, that set off all the alarms. Now, you have to remember, in the 50s, the Eisenhower administration was big on regime change. People don't understand that. Excuse me. He was big. They were big on regime change. They did it in a lot of places. Okay, to save everyone from communism. Well, they did that in Iraq, and they set up the Shah. Okay, I believe it's Pahlavi family. But understand, the Pahlavi family was what Batista was to Cuba, a dictator run by the United States. And he was a brutal dictator. People hated him. And he he turned Iran from a prosperous democracy to a low-level fascist government. Truth, we did that. We did that. So fast forward to 1979, the revolution, and the Islamic Revolution was because of reaction to economics and oppression. And they had Ayatollah Khomeini had been exiled from Iran, and he came back. And in their reaction, because understand, they knew who was the perpetrator of the Shah. That's why they took over the American embassy, which led to good to talk to you too. Thank you, GI. I love that. But that's why they took over the embassy, and then put the Carter administration on notice. It was a mess. The failed attempt to rescue the hostages, which was a disaster. But always remember, Republicans always have always been little schemers. Okay, because remember, this is after Nixon, so they're still little schemers. When they had an agreement to release the hostages before the inauguration, before the election, okay, but the Reagan campaign back-channeled Carter and had the Iranians hold off on releasing the hostages until January 20th, 1980, the day of the inauguration. I never forgot that. They had pictures of Reagan leaving, the hostages leaving Tehran in an aircraft, and they had Reagan commenting on it. So it looked like Reagan did it. That was the beginning of, another Republican bullshit. So now you have the theocracy that is Iran, and they buckled in. Now, the only problem for the people of Iran is that the government really didn't change. Didn't benefit the working people, only benefit the rich, and now the theocracy, who basically lived high on the hog, sucked up oil profits, and left people with nothing. That's why it was brewing up, again, some kind of revolution or some kind of change in Iran because of what was going on. Now, understand, part of it started about 3 years ago, I think it's 3 years ago, where they set up a religious police. Now, understand, guys, remember this, okay? Remember this. Yeah, took credit for it. Yeah, that's right. He did do that. Thank you, Awesome Mom. He negotiated the release. Reagan backtracked him. No, what happened is that Reagan's campaign went behind Jimmy Carter's back, talked to the Iranians through back channels, and got them to hold off the release of the hostages. That's a fact. It's some of the more underhanded things later on, Iran-Contra. You do remember all that bullshit. But the new government was no better than the old government. The oppression of the people. But what this government did, they had a lot of they built layers upon layer of government. Because you had the theocracy, then you had the presidency with their parliament, which is kind of that way. And then came the Revolutionary Guard and the religious police. The Revolutionary Guard are kind of like the military on acid, okay? And then the religious police are, to keep the people in line. Now, the religious police also came into effect about 3 years ago, where they got captured a young woman who was not wearing her, I forgot what they call it, the coverings. And they tortured her to death. And women came out in force to protest. The only problem is when you protest in Iran, they don't play games. The new head of Iran, the son of Khomeini, who was killed in the first strikes, was in charge of, was in charge of domestic policing. And idea of domestic policing protests is basically kill them all and let God fill your mouth. And that's what they did for women. They killed so many women. You don't know it. The West ignored that. They ignored that. They brutalized these women in protesting, and they still went out. But in the end, Burqa. Thank you, Oliver's mom. They brutalized them. It was horrendous. And then until they broke them, and that's what happened, because that's the way they deal with it. So then you had the protests coming on right now, recently, and those protests that have been bubbling up against the Iranian government was economic. Eventually, they would have to deal with it, because even though they were using the same tactics, it was not going to work this time because economic situations. The people were mad because they're not getting a piece of the pie. It's amazing, no matter if it's a religious tint or a fascist government, how the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And it was like that in the Iranian, in the original Iranian government. But then again, you have to understand that Donald Trump created this whole mess. Okay? If you had left Iran alone, if you had left the negotiations for the nuclear in place, everything would be fine. But they needed a boogeyman. Just like weapons of mass destruction started the Iraqi war, it was the same thing. They're days from a nuclear bomb, but I thought you destroyed their nuclear capabilities before. Months before, I thought that was obliterated. And so he did it because, again, he's been pushed by Benjamin Netanyahu. And the Israelis, that's another talk. We're going to get to that in a minute. But he was pushed by Netanyahu. Netanyahu pushed him into the war, convinced him. Okay? Always remember that when Kuwait was invaded under the first Gulf War with Senior Bush, he did not want to go into war against Kuwait and Iraq. Margaret Thatcher convinced him to do it. American presidents are real good at being led by the nose. And so now, that morning, they just, without warning, after being in negotiations with them, everyone kind of stay with me here. Trump had broke the deal. Okay, he broke the deal that Obama had put together, and then Biden reestablished. The Iranians, again, they're a pain in the butt. They sponsor terrorism across the Middle East. I get it, but that's something that the overturn of the government, everything had to be done from the inside. But by doing this, you set them off. This whole regime does not understand anything. They are so narrow. Trump is so narrow. He lives in a fantasy world. People feed him fantasy stats. I mean, when he talks about the economy and everything, you notice he says everything's fine with the economy. The gas prices are going up. It's fine. It'll be okay. Really, look at it as he talks about it. Oh, sir, people are dying. We have American soldiers dying and wounded. It's part of it. Okay? It'll be okay. You notice that's my tone. Do you notice that every one of his regime people are like that? Even the senators? When they bring it up, they react to a question like that with that type of tone. Basically, condescending and angry. Because they know they're fucked. Okay? Oh, $4.79 a gallon in Florida? We're going to talk about that in a minute, Oliver's mom. Because here's what they forgot. They thought the Iranians, because they're brown people, were dumb. This is the truth. This is all trigger warnings. I might get something down for it, but look at it this way. They thought of the Iranians not as an enemy, someone to be that you have to deal with. They thought of them as inhumans that would just react to this. No. The Iranians, let's be honest, the Iranians have been preparing for this war for a long time. Because the Israelis have been threatening them for decades. And understand this, back up a bit. Netanyahu tried to get Joe Biden to attack Iran for him also. Do you remember he attacked Iran and the Iranians retaliated against Israel? And what Biden did, he set up a net with ships. He didn't depend on the Iron Dome. He had ships outside off the coast of Israel, ships in the Red Sea, knocking down that night of missiles and drones. Do you remember that? And then Biden went to the Iranians and said, "You good? No, we're not getting involved in this. You got your thing? You good?" Everyone walked away. That pissed off Netanyahu. That's why he wanted that him and AIPAC pushed for Donald Trump, because they knew they couldn't fool Biden and his Defense Department. They knew what he wanted, and they knew that was a folly to go after Iran because they knew what the consequences were. Hell, even when Bush Jr. went into Iraq, they didn't fuck with Iran. They didn't want the Strait of Hormuz to be closed. Now, the good thing is that the Iraqis and the Iranians had fought a war for a while, so the Iranians didn't care what you did to the Iraqis. They were fine with it. Point being is, they knew, and they didn't take the bait because there was no bait to take. Okay? No bait to take. So here we are. But they got Donald Trump, and Netanyahu has been waiting to work him. And look how it's been done. They did it through the back doors. First, you had Lindsey Graham being worked by Mossad. Okay? He's the biggest hawk right now. I don't know what's wrong with that man. He's willing to give the sons of South Carolina, the children of South, to fight for Israel. He didn't say a word about America. Israel. It's all about Israel. Because AIPAC has been working this for years. Okay? Even look at the reaction that they have come. Pete Hegseth spent $95 billion fucking dollars in a month of September. All right, I did a video said it was million. That's my bad. He spent that millions on just crab legs alone. He spent $95 billion, but not on a new weapon. Not on pay raises for soldiers or helping families. He spent it all on junk. Literally junk. I am horrible because I will buy junk from Amazon. It drives my wife fucking nuts. All right? She says, you can't afford it, but I want it. Okay? And it's not right, and it's a bad habit, and it's going to get me killed eventually. Either she's going to kill me or what I'm eating is going to kill me. Being honest. But this is a man who's the head of the Defense Department. Fuck you and your War Department. It's bullshit. As soon as they said War Department, we should have known what was coming. Yeah, as G.I. Gallifrey puts in the thing. Piano, furniture, donuts, steaks, rib. It was ridiculous. $95 billion. You could have put it in a weapon. You could put it for vets. You could have done anything. I mean, aside that could have, I believe that amount of money probably would have covered the ACA subsidies. But if you're just going to keep it in the Defense Department, there are other ways to use it other than his makeup room. And have you ever met someone so unserious in the Defense Department? I've seen defense secretaries for decades, and they have a serious to them. They have a gravitas when they talk about defending the United States and running the United States militaries. Not Pete Hegseth. He treats this all like a fucking Fox News segment. Look at his fucking his news conferences. Now he doesn't want pictures taken in news conferences because he doesn't look good. You don't look good because you look like a punk. You look like a punk. You look horrible. You don't look dignified. You don't. And when you talk, you really talk like Trump. You don't bring any gravitas. That's why no one takes you seriously. That's why you have to fire a whole shitload of generals and upper management because they wouldn't take you seriously. Literally. He's no different than Kash Patel running the FBI. He really isn't. Honestly, he has no gravitas. And that's the thing. On a side note, all the cabinet members are jokes. All of them are, because they don't care. Tim Miller was talking the other day on the Bulwark, the podcast. And normally I don't follow the Bulwark because I think they're responsible for a lot of this. But he was talking to a friend who was with a businessman who went to the White House to meet Trump for business. And he said, this is how it went. Trump took him around the White House to show off. Because understand, Donald Trump is not a serious person, except if it's for Trump, and he likes to show off and see, look, like the button for the Diet Coke. Remember that story? He said that he took him to meet Marco Rubio. And the first thing they talked about, he goes, look, I buy his shoes. What do you think, Marco? Are you wearing my shoes? Marco said, yes, sir, I'm wearing your shoes. Okay. And he said, how's everything going, Marco? Everything's going great, sir. Everything you're doing is fine. And he's like, well, okay. They went to Scott Bessett's office, the treasurer. And he did the same thing. How's the economy going? Everything's going fine, sir. Everything you're doing is fantastic. Thank you. You're the greatest. You're the best. That's what we're dealing with. All of these people that sit around that table and kiss his ass every fucking day. Did you see that standing ovation he got at that fucking conference in Doral with all the Republicans? No, he didn't bring, hey, douchebag, I'm going to block you. Hunter Biden didn't bring cocaine in the White House. Now, Trump has a pill farm in the White House, and that's a fact. So I'm going to block you because you live up to your name. So let me do that for you. Make your life a lot easier. You don't have to deal with this because that's all you cultists are. All right. So, bye. If you saw, I had and your mom sold it to him. Oh, he's so cute. Look at these guys. Aren't they adorable? I had a guy today send a video because I was talking about how the war is all lies. If you've seen my video, check it out. Because it is. It's all lies. And he said, just calm down and eat some French fries. Yeah, I'm good with that. But see, that's it. You guys have no sense of anything. And who cares? You are nothing to us. But I will say one thing. Johnny Bananas made a good comment about, he was thinking about, why don't MAGA, knowing that they're being hurt by this, abandon him? Why don't they do it? And he goes, because the cruelty that they give on others, like Latinos for Trump, and for, blacks for Trump, or women that support Trump, it's that because it hurts other people they don't like. And they don't care if they're suffering as long as the people they hate are suffering. The cruelty is the point. They don't care. They honestly don't care. That's why we can never trust them, because they are too far down the line, because all they care about is their hate. Their hate is what they all live on. All right. Hold on one second. Hi, I'm back. I'm sorry, I had to deal with something. Okay, so that's what we have to deal with MAGA, which brings us to what's going on with the war. They're trying to sell it now. Everything that's going on, the deaths of Americans, the wounding of American soldiers, the gas prices going up that's going to cause the economy, short-term pain for long-term gain. I saw Rick Scott on today, and he's just ridiculous. They're still blaming Iran for the bombing of the school. That was us. That was an American Tomahawk. And when he brought it up with Trump, he just went to Iranians are nasty people, they kill babies, blah, 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 right to the racist tropes. So that's where that's how they're handling it. You could see it. And now Fox News is blaming the Iranian people. Why won't they rise up? Because you bombed them. You bombed Israel bombed the oil facilities. It's raining fucking toxic oil on them. You burned them. People and children and women and men have died from the bombing. Okay? That's not going to cause regime change. That's going to cause resentment and hate. And even though they hate that government, they hate us more. Because we caused them pain. Now let's talk about the new leader, the new Ayatollah in charge of the Iranian government. He is the son of Khomeini. Like I said before, he was in charge of internal security. He's brutal. You saw what he did. Charge of the Revolutionary Guard. And in one night, that man lost his father, his wife, and his children to American Trump bombing and Israeli bombing. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. It is on. And the Iranian people they don't have any. Right now, how are they going to rise up for a government? The government's set in. You caused them to hate us more than the people that were oppressing them, you dumb fucks. That's where it's all narrow-minded. Narrow minds are prosecuting this war. And it shouldn't even be there. We should not even be here. I watched, again, going back to Rick Scott, when he talked about the gas prices, he goes, well, under Obama and Biden, motherfucker, they didn't cause the gas prices to be like that. Okay? Obama inherited a failing economy. Biden inherited the back of COVID and did his best. They had nothing to do with the economics, but you get blamed for it. So they had to work a way out of it, which they did. All this is happening is on Donald Trump. And asking you shall receive. Hey, Eric, how you doing, brother? It's one of them days today. I'm doing okay. Just talking about stuff in the war because it's real important. I was bringing up that the thing I'm hearing right now is that they don't want to blame Trump for the economy. Rick Scott was talking, they asked him about the high gas prices. He brought up Biden and Obama. But you would agree, and I would agree, would notice, this is all on Trump. Trump created this 100%. Whole fucking mess.
110%. I mean,
and now, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, we said during Biden that the president doesn't control gas prices, but that's not entirely accurate. The president can control gas prices to an extent with their policies. Biden didn't put any policies into place that affected gas prices. He was writing the 2-year deal that Donald Trump signed with OPEC nations to cut production. And as they were dealing with that, that's why we got I think it was over $5 was the highest we saw here. But that's why we had such high gas prices. And then everybody remembered gas prices being really, really high. And There you go. They 3 years later, gas prices were half of what they were at their high point. But we still kept hearing high gas prices, high gas prices, high gas prices. But Donald Trump bombing Iran has directly led to high gas prices, or higher
Yes.
gas prices anyway, because Iran took out a refinery in Saudi Arabia, has been bombing oil fields, saying, "Oh, my bad, guys. I really didn't mean to go after you guys. I was only going after the American bases. My missiles just went off track." And now we're hearing that they are mining the Strait of Hormuz, putting
Oh, they
mines
have.
down.
And
And
also, they've attacked
I don't,
three ships already. They set three
and
ships on fire.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I had heard that under this administration, they have basically decommissioned our anti-mine ships.
Are you shocked? I'm not
No,
shocked.
no. I actually, well, in a little bit of a way, I am, because they want to go back and rebuild things we don't need, like more battleships, naming them the Golden Trump Fleet or whatever bullshit, you know.
I know.
But
Yeah.
the whole thing is dumb.
And here's the thing: he's being outworked. They've been trying to do back channel negotiations with them. Ain't gonna happen. By the way, I just got a warning for restriction for misinformation because we're telling the truth. That didn't take
Yeah.
long for them to run out there and do it. Um, so we'll
So,
just kill
you
as
want to
long as
hear a
we
good
can
one?
before. Go ahead.
Okay, I got restrictions on my last live for inorganic gift giving that I never ask for. I never ask anybody for gifts ever, and I got 2 restrictions for requesting gifts, which was dumb. But I was scrolling TikTok yesterday morning, and I sent the live to TJ. There was a girl on here basically doing the type of stuff you would find on
Oh
OnlyFans,
yeah.
and I reported her 4 different times. No violations found. But you and I are sitting here talking the truth, and we're getting violations and
By the
restrictions.
way, if you're in here, just like the live, that'll push it out whether it's restricted or not. So we kind of get it out there. If you guys want to do that, I appreciate it because we need to talk about this. Because I'm going to bring us some stuff that may bring us down soon. But they got it. Let's face it, they got outmaneuvered. Okay, the Israelis got outmaneuvered because right now Tel Aviv is now. Um, the Israeli government is saying that if a reporter shows a missile hitting the ground in Tel Aviv or multiple, like you see the missiles coming and breaking up, because that's the Iranians using clusters to get over the Iron Dome, that person will get arrested. They are trying. They are trying to hide how it's going on. And out of Lebanon, they are getting hammered. They may be hammering Hezbollah, but they're getting hammered. It
Did
is
I
not good
see?
for them.
I think I saw something, and I haven't verified it yet. That Iran gave publicly their terms of surrender, basically their terms of
Yes.
what they would accept in this, as to cease hostilities, and it involves turning over Netanyahu to the ICC. Uh, it, they would have to give up on Trump's plan for Gaza, and Israel would have to give up all territory and all land it took, ceasing hostilities in Lebanon and a couple other countries. And I don't remember if there was anything about impeaching and removing Trump, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, yeah. I'm not. I wouldn't be. That sounds reasonable, considering everything. But here's the thing: they didn't. Again, I said this in a video just recently. They thought that these brown people, and I'll be honest, I'm going to be straight up because you know this is true, that these brown people were the same as the other brown people in Latin America. Okay? What you didn't get is that the Iranians have been preparing for this shit for a long damn time. And you could see it. As soon as it lit off, they knew what to do. And killing the head of the regime and his son not only lost his dad, who's now in charge, his dad, I think all his family, his wife, his kids, he lost them all. He has no compunction to peace with America. And their goal now is, while they're going after the Strait of Hormuz and going after oil production, we're going to make oil $200 a barrel and to squeeze the Americans.
Because
He knows what to do.
as we talked about the last time I was on your live, it reminds me of the 1970s. Even though I wasn't here for it, I've seen and heard the
Mm-hmm.
story of, lions. I mean, hell, I just saw a TikTok from somebody a couple days ago. They were at a Costco somewhere, and the line was 15, 20 cars deep, they said, of people getting gas
Right.
before it went up. And it's only going to get worse. We could end up with a deal where it's rationed, and we're back to, you know, hell, we could see $5 a half gallon, like you were talking about, where it was a dollar
Yes.
20 a half gallon or whatever it was. Um,
Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing: if it gets to $200 a gallon, you're looking at what, $10, $11 a gallon on at average. Don't even talk what it could be in California because
yeah.
of their taxes. Um, it is, yeah. And the thing about the '70s, that was strategic. What OPEC was doing to squeeze America. That's what it's about. And the thing about it, we wouldn't be in this if Trump hadn't woke up that Saturday morning and decided I needed to do something. Mostly probably because Epstein. Epstein's gone. Very rarely hear about Epstein. They're searching that New Mexican ranch right now. They're doing an
Oh,
investigation down there.
I saw an article was saying that apparently New Mexico authorities were going to be looking into that ranch back in 2019, and Trump's
Mm-hmm.
DOJ in 2019, under Bill Barr, talked him into ending it, to stopping the investigation. Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. And again, everything's self-inflicted with Trump. What we're seeing right now is self-inflicted. Honestly, the economy is self-inflicted. The tariffs could have rode what was going on
110%.
around right now. Yeah. And then Epstein files. That's self-inflicted. No one was going to say a damn thing. It would have gone away. She would have stayed in jail and it just would have flittered away.
Well,
Honestly,
well,
no offense to the victims, but it's true.
well, I've been saying, one of the things that they don't realize, or whatever, is Kamala Harris was not talking about doing anything with the Epstein files. If Donald Trump
No.
wanted the files to go away, his best play would have been to not run and let her become president. Files go away.
Yes.
He was the one who ran them front and center because he got worried that they could use him against him. And I don't know where he got the idea from that they were going to go against him with it, but he got that idea, and then suddenly that was everything, right? That was all you heard. And he ran on the idea, and then he thought he could turn around and come out and do what he did with Pam Bondi and say, nothing to see
Right.
here, folks. There's nothing to see, and that his supporters would believe it. He didn't realize that his supporters would be so rabid about the Epstein files because, as I've said on Boomer's Lives and stuff numerous times, they have spent decades telling the American people, telling their supporters about all of these horrendous things that were done by Democrats to kids. They genuinely believe that Democrats do these awful things to kids, and that
Right.
the files are going to prove them right.
Here's the other irony of it. Do you remember when they finally released the video of Hillary Clinton testifying? They asked her about Pizzagate, which has already been debunked. What are you talking about? That's just. I mean, this is what they are. They're so unserious, and it brings us to where we're at right now because Congress is not in session again. Notice, not in session. Not to say, but one thing I've been hearing that disturbs me a bit is that they need money for this war, and they're trying to get a package to fund this war going on for Trump. And there are Democrats thinking about voting for it, even though it's an illegal war. And that's because of AIPAC money. And I don't know why they keep doing that because it's going to blow up in their face come primaries. People are tired of this already. They can see it. They don't feel good about this at all
Well, Democrats need to
because
do more
they
than
feel that
resist.
Americans are dying for Israel. I'm sorry, Democrats.
Well, Democrats need to do more to resist because look at the elections. And I didn't even catch this. I just saw a TikTok on it.
Oh,
There
yeah.
was a special election in New Hampshire there was a seat that flipped, and I didn't catch it on Tuesday night. Okay, that seat flipped. That is now number 28. 28 seats
Right.
across the country, all across the board. Whether you're talking the one board you mentioned where Democrats haven't held power on that board for 30 years. Um,
In Georgia, yeah, the
I don't
public
I don't
commissions.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether you're talking town councils or state houses or whatever, there's been 28 seats that have flipped for Democrats that were not or that were held by Republicans. Republicans have flipped zero. They've held seats. They haven't flipped any. And that's almost unheard
If
of.
and here's the thing that they're now in panic mode here in Georgia is that if we did not have the rule here where you had to have 50+%, 51 or 50+1% to win an election, a Democrat would be sitting in Marjorie Taylor's Greene seat right now. And you got
Yes.
41% of that vote. He got 41% of the vote in a district that Sean Harris lost to Marjorie Taylor Greene by 27 points less than a year
Yeah.
and a half ago.
Well, and
So,
I think
go
I think
ahead.
the final tally came down lower. I think he only got 30. What did he get? 37, 38%, something like that. It was low. It was lower was the final. Um, but either way, he didn't have enough to win the seat. But Clayton Fuller, the Republican, only got 30. He got less than 35%. Now,
Yes.
I realize I'm not crazy enough to say that all of the 65% that voted against him are going to vote against him in the general or the runoff or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I'm not crazy enough to say that's going to happen because there's a lot of people that will still vote for somebody with an R next to their name because this was effectively
Well,
a
that's what they
primary.
do.
But this was effectively to
Well,
a
yeah,
lot of
it's true,
people.
but that means, but it was an open primary where everyone could vote. It wasn't just Democrats voting for him. There was. That's the thing. He outpolled the Republican that was anointed by Trump. All right, and they're still running on that here in Georgia. Burt Young is running for governor. Keeps saying all his advertisements about Trump loves me. Okay, this is going to be a litmus test come April 7th for Georgia, because if even if Sean Harris loses, but if he loses by very little, that's telling you there's a litmus test coming up that they're not going to like. Georgia's going to turn dark purple, and they ain't going to like that. I
Well,
think that's what's coming, big time.
I think what you're going to see, and I use the one race in Texas, and I use Afton Bain in Tennessee. Afton Bain closed the gap by like almost 20 percentage points. That one race in Texas where it was for a state seat where he flipped it he closed a 30-point gap where picked up 30 points over the last time a Democrat ran in that seat. When you're
Yeah,
flipping 30 points on a race, I mean, there's no way. There's no seat that's safe in this country. The majority of
nope,
Republicans that are in their seats are 5% and under. They're close.
exactly.
And even the ones that aren't, there's no guarantee that they at 30 percentage points, who the fuck knows? Look at what if they end up pulling Markwayne Mullen out of Oklahoma. They picked him
That's not
because he's
safe.
safe. But they picked him because they thought he was safe. He's at 30 points. Well, I looked into it a little bit for my podcast. In Oklahoma, how it would work is Markwayne Mullen is up for re-election in November. So he's
Right.
already running. Now, he clearly wouldn't run. He wouldn't be on the ballot or whatever. or maybe the governor would have to appoint somebody if he stays on the ballot and wins the primary. I don't know exactly how that process is going to work. But for his replacement, for the rest of his term, there's kind of a gentleman's agreement in place where it's not a binding law, but whoever gets appointed by the governor isn't supposed to run for re-election in the next general election. It is supposed to only be a temporary spot. So he could appoint whoever into that seat, and they're going to appoint somebody who, that they don't want to run again, but they'll appoint a Republican. And now you're going to have to run another new name with no incumbency again for November. And it may be something where that person is either running, or if they do it too late, Mark Wayne may be the one on the ballot. Mark Wayne Mullen, he may be the one on the ballot where the Democrats running against somebody who can't fill the spot, and his whole campaign is going to be going, well, you're going to vote for Mark Wayne, but the governor's going to appoint somebody else for the next 2 years.
Yeah, that's insane.
Do you really want to have the governor taking your pick away from you? At least if you vote for me, you know who you're putting in there, and I can be there for 6 years. They're going to give the Democrats a talking point.
And here's the thing, that's even in spite of what the Democrats are doing to themselves right now. Because you have the old school leadership is still fighting the younger folk. Because they really fear what's going on. David Hogg had a speech the other day, and he just went after all of them. AIPAC, Israel. It really frustrated everyone. And every one of the new candidates for either the House or the Senate, when asked, there's a Senate candidate in Illinois, a black lady named, I forgot her name, Juliet. I saw her the other day. She was one of the many candidates. And they were asking the candidates, will you support Chuck Schumer if you become as majority or leader if you win the Senate seat? The majority hemmed and hawed. She said, no, we need new leadership. She was straight up. Graham Plantier is saying the same thing, and he's probably going to win that Maine seat. He's already got Janet Mills by the collar. There's no way she's winning that primary. You can see the numbers there. And Susan Collins is cooked with him by way of numbers. So,
well, by the polls, Susan Collins might be cooked even if Janet Mills wins. I mean, Susan Collins could go down either way. Now, I see a lot of creators, and Legal Dad is one I really like. And I'm not doing this to call out Legal Dad. I see his skepticism, saying he doesn't see the Senate flipping. And I'm saying it's going to be a tough fight. I'm just saying it's possible. The fact that the Democrats could take the Senate. I mean, it's going to be a tough fight. They're going to have to hold all of their seats. But when you look at the fact that the Republicans have not flipped a seat the entirety of the time that Donald Trump has been president, that's a weird statistic to think about, right? You start adding in, you have, the fact that everything is so unpopular, everything's becoming so expensive, the economy is taking a shit. You've got a war we didn't ask for.
Exactly.
All of it. I saw a TikTok lawyer.
Go ahead.
Well, I saw this TikTok lawyer. I don't know if you know, I can't think of his username, but he goes by the TikTok lawyer. He's a lawyer from California. He comes in and he usually will give a scenario, give you a chance to vote which way it goes. And he was talking about whether or not this war is constitutional. And he was very nonpartisan. And he basically said, yes, it is constitutionally allowed, but based on the War Powers Act of 1973, the president would have to end it within 60 days. Or Congress would have to act. And I liked that information, but still 60 days, a lot of damage can be done. And he may be able to, depending on what kind of counterstrikes Iran does to us in that time frame, there may be enough to rally the troops in Congress to vote for it.
Yeah, that's a scary thought because here let's look at that because Donald Trump's point people for his diplomacy is Steve Witkoff, a motherfucking real estate agent, and Jared Kushner. Marco Rubio is nowhere to be found. Okay. And Steve Witkoff is just basically towing the line. And Iranians don't want to talk to him. Sure as fuck don't want to talk to Jared Kushner. And let's be honest, even with we're raining, we have to say we because it's the United States, we're raining down destruction and the Israelis are doing it. To me, it feels like the Iranians have the upper hand. They have the upper hand because they control the oil and how the oil is going to be sent out. And I like a creator or not someone I was it was the New York Times was talking about this is the first time America has had a war past World War II or created a military action. No, it's a war. Fuck it, a war in an economic important area. If you look at the other wars, Iraq, Vietnam, Korea, all the other little wars we've had, coastal, they're not economic important areas. Okay, you started a war in an area where 20% of the world's oil supply sits. 1/5 of the world's natural gas sits and distribute. A pinch point where a good majority of oil goes out. You started a war there in an economic area that has other ramifications, and that's where these idiots did not realize that. Because I kept thinking, you understand they're about to do this, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, yeah, we thought of that. No, you didn't. None of you thought of that. None of you thought of that. And here we are. Because that's what the Iranians are playing now. They're playing the economic game. And they don't want to give Trump an out. Now, here's something that kind of chills me. It's a possibility. And I would say that's kind of far-fetched. But again, I was watching Tim Miller did a podcast with the editor of the Bulwark. And he said that he was kind of he was going through MAGA podcasts and news just kind of see what the other side is thinking. And one podcaster called Nick Price, I don't know, never heard of him. He was talking about the war. He's not down with the war. Waste of money, waste of resources, it's raising prices, practical shit. But he said the problem you have right now with Trump, he's gone from a politician who never really cared about the American people, let's be honest. It's all about Trump, to a megalomaniac. Because now he wants to leave his stamp on history. The ballroom, Venezuela, the Trump, all these things. And he's listening to all this. And then at the end of the sentence, the guy goes, I'm not surprised if he dropped the bomb on Tehran. Tim Miller said, whoa. And the guy goes, look, I'm not saying he would do it, but to be a historical figure to Trump, to do it and be in the history books as the man who nuked Tehran appeals to him. Now, today, when asked how, since they've mined the Strait of Hormuz, already 3 cargo ships have been attacked. Trump says, well, I'm going to unleash a power that they've never seen before. And a lot of people are going, he may do it as his only off-ramp, thinking he's justified in it. I don't think he'll get through the safeguards to do it, but it's in the back of his damn mind.
I think if he would take the attempt to use the nuke, I think that may be the bridge where Republicans say, okay, we got to get rid of this guy. Because they would end up, they would be the ones feeling the backlash. Donald Trump's not going to be around forever. I mean, we're seeing a lot of creators on here that are in the medical field. And I realize they are diagnosing the same way we are by what they see because they have not treated Donald Trump in person. But they're watching his decline going by their experience and what they've seen. And I'm seeing several of them say 2 to 3 months tops before he is either too incompetent mentally because of dementia or it just has gotten bad enough that he's no longer on this planet. 2 to 3 months. But beyond
You know
that,
what he can do in 2 3 months?
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing.
But
It's his people around him. Look, as there was again, the reports are he talks about the polls and everyone loves this, loves what he's doing all the time. Everyone loves him. It's because the polls they get are like little miniature polls where are you MAGA? Yes. Do you love Trump? Yes. And they present that information to him. They don't tell him the truth because when the
no.
truth comes out, you see his reactions to it. He doesn't get it.
Well,
I
I don't
mean,
know if it was true or not, but I remember hearing stories. Obviously, again, wasn't there for it, wasn't around during that time, but when they captured Japan, when Japan finally surrendered in World War II, that they asked the emperor about how everything. And he had no idea how bad the war had gone until the bomb
no,
was dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Whenever he would ask how the war is going, like he wasn't handling the day-to-day operations of the war like Donald Trump
no.
sort of would be. They were just telling him, "Oh, it's going great. It's going good. It's going good." That's all he'd hear. That's what they're doing to Donald Trump. They are telling him exactly what he wants to hear because he's a narcissist and they don't want to deal with the mental collapse that he would have from it going badly. But Iran's already a step ahead of us. They don't have a dementia patient at the helm.
No,
We have Donald Trump at the helm here. He's running everything, but he should be in a dementia ward. Very clearly, he is not right. I mean, hell, did you see his comments Monday? I've seen MAGA try to say, well, what's
which
the full
ones?
context? Where he was talking about his voter ID, and then he stops and he goes, "Oh,
Oh,
why should we go? Why should we stop there? We should go for the gold, make it the best we could make it, and then you would have your daughter give it to you when she's of age, when she's 6 years old." And they want context behind it. There's no context there that makes any of it make any more sense. Is he talking about getting the ID or the ballot from the 6 year old? Why would the 6 year old be able to do any of that anyway? None of that makes sense. And he's talking about a 6 year old being of age. It was a moment where the safeguards of his brain slipped because he is
yep.
battling dementia. He thinks 6 is okay. What the fuck?
Yeah,
Oh, hey, Bo.
it's just, I don't, oh my God. Yeah, I heard that one. And it's like amongst all his other word salad. It's, someone someone did a good evaluation talking about why Trump appeals to people, why he does, even though he doesn't really give a fuck about them, about people in general. It's because the majority of people in this country are not very bright. I think there's not a very, but he talks like them. He
Yes.
talks like them. You listen to him, and he
I've,
does not talk like an educated man. He talks like them. He talks stupidly, and they love it. They
well,
think
I've
he's
said
one of
that
them.
before.
It's a sad.
I've said that before. That is why when they come out and they say things like, we hear Donald Trump talk, and it sounds like word salad, and we describe it as a word salad because it doesn't go anywhere and it doesn't mean anything. But Donald Trump struggles to pronounce any word over 2 syllables. Hell, Donald Trump probably doesn't even know what a syllable is. And he
Mm-hmm.
speaks like a chunk of this country. They're dumb. And he even comes out and says it. I love the poorly educated. Smart people don't like me. Direct quotes from the President of the United States.
Yeah.
But he speaks like them, and they cheer for it because they don't feel like they're being talked down to. When Kamala Harris, when Barack Obama, or any educated Democrat comes out and uses the big words, they feel like they're being talked down to because they don't understand what's being actually said. The language is too complex for them. So what we need is somebody who can walk that line and deliver the message very plainly, very simply. And I think if you break a lot of what the Democrats want down to simple, easy terms, I think you could get a lot of Republicans to actually be on board. The problem is they're not doing that.
No, well, they are doing it now. A lot of the seat flipping is because they are simplifying the affordability question and going to basically living in the Republicans' land. Are you better off than you were before? And the answer is no. These are simple matters. And here's the thing also. If you look at it, what's going on in New York City, where Mondami has basically moved forward, progressing little by little on his plans for New York City. Like, he's doing things in progressive points in progression that's working. And people are, so you can't say that, well, socialist governments don't work. Really? Watch him. Watch what he's doing in one of the biggest cities in the world. And he's doing it without fighting people. He's trying to get people to join his side. That's the thing. Now, corporate Democrats hate that because they benefit also from people fighting one another. That's the thing. Cooperation is the scariest thing to a politician on the take. When everyone cooperates, that scares the hell out of them. And that's the thing we're going to have to get over. And also, we have to understand the people we are fighting are fucking ruthless. They're fucking ruthless. Bottom line, they don't care. There was a creator named Kendall Brown who really went off when the war started because her husband's a naval in the Navy, and she was pissed. She said, "This is bullshit. Why should I? I don't want my husband." She went off. Very well. She should be upset. She got mad at all MAGA. Go fuck yourself, basically. I get it, because her husband is out there on the front line for a man who doesn't understand how it works. And then she gets blowback from MAGA, including a threat from some guy who's put up a video saying that was my wife. She wouldn't be a live wife when I got home. Okay? And she did a reaction to that, and there was someone in that video, because I made a comment, goes, I get it, because that's what MAGA is. This person actually said to me, hey, not all MAGA are about violence. You're wrong. You're dividing us. Are you out of your motherfucking mind? That's all they know is violence. Every time someone says something, there's death threats. What they did to Mayor Mondami, they threw bombs at him. Bombs were placed in the fucking mayor house by people who associate to Jake Lang. These people are dangerous because their way of life is just whatever Trump says. They are so deep in it, it doesn't matter. They're so deep in it, they make excuses for people dying in war. They're so deep in it, they don't care about Epstein and everything else. They don't care. That's how deep it is. That's a cult, period.
Well, they treat politics like it is football, right? Or baseball, whatever sporting event you want to talk about. And I'm a sports fan, don't get me wrong. But they treat politics like a sport, like sports. If their side's winning, it's a good day. You see people all the time come out, bitching and moaning. Oh, well, Alabama lost, or Georgia lost, or whoever, right? And it ruins their week until the next week when their team can win again. And if their team wins, the national championship in college football, the Super Bowl, the World Series, They're running that high for a long time. They treat politics the same way. A lot of them don't even pay attention to what is being said by these politicians. They just look for the right symbol. Oh, they're on the right team. They're on the right
Right.
team. That's all they care about. It's bizarre. I think straight ticket voting should be done away with. They did away with it here in Iowa like 10, 15 years ago, I think. And even though it hasn't helped us get rid of some of the Republicans, it at least forces them to look at every single race and vote down
Yeah.
the line and take the time to fill in each circle and go, okay, I'm voting for this person. And they actually know who they're voting for. Some still don't care. That's how we get Chuck Grassley every time. But still.
Yeah, I know. And so right now we're kind of at a real bad precipice because the economy is about to catch up with Trump whether he likes it or not. He accelerated this with the war. Not even just spending
Yes.
money like a drunken sailor, but economically it's a mess. There are reports like BlackRock is not letting people take their money out of their mutual funds. There are reports that some banks and some lending institutions are at a tipping point because people aren't paying their bills. Foreclosures are up. These are things that are out there, but no one says anything about it because the mass media is frozen. And the thing about it is, when economic dominoes fall, they fall quick, quick. And if you don't know what you're doing to prevent or to stop it, there's nothing you can do. And that's the thing. His team is not the people that are supposed to stop it can't stop it. They won't be able to stop it. And I don't know what's going to meet for all of us and what the reaction is going to be. But I want to bring up something to you because I've been seeing this quite a lot. There was a creator out there called Madam's something about Madam Music Teacher or something. And she was going after people who keep saying that there's going to be midterms. She is saying that if you tell other people who say that Trump's going to stop the midterms, he's going to do an executive order with the SAVE Act, he's going to grab all the boxes, he's going to use the military to stop them, that you guys, he goes, I'm going to block you because you're not letting us speak our piece, and we think that we should be heard. But the problem with that is that you could say it, but I don't see how practically he can do it. And they're saying, well, he's done all this. Yeah, within the confines of the budget and stuff. Okay? He has tried to send ICE to Minnesota. That's failed. Okay? It's causing so much problems and reverberations. Stephen Miller is filling it. Okay? You don't have enough military to do what they want. Can't do martial law. Where are you going to pick up all these damn boxes, these so-called voting boxes? What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? I mean, the SAVE Act is dead. It's not going to get through the Senate. It's not going to go back to the House the way Trump writes it, because Mike Johnson knows it's dead in the House too. He can't write an executive order and say, I get rid of mail-in ballots. He tried. It failed.
Right.
Can't do it. He can't instigate the draft. Congress has to do it. He cannot do an executive order and order the military to start drafting people. It can't do it. It's explicit in the Constitution about the draft. And so people say that. Now, I did a thing about the draft. They thought that if they do that, they'll just burn the whole country down. Trust me, it ain't going to happen. But the point is, her point is like, you guys aren't listening to us. We're right. And I'm like going, I get your warnings, but I don't see it. I mean, I'm not Pollyannish. I'm not saying everything's going to be okay, but I sure as fuck don't see how he's going to come into Georgia and take every fucking ballot box. Can't do it.
No.
Even if he does it in Fulton County, you can't do it in LA or Philadelphia either. I mean, that kind of threw me for a
Yeah.
loop.
Well, the people that are worried about the midterms aren't looking at what is actually going on. They, um, if he could do that, and if he could end up affecting the midterms, why hasn't he done it all along? We've had elections the whole time he has been in office. And as we
Mm-hmm.
just talked about earlier, there are 28 seats. 28 seats the Democrats have flipped that were held by Republicans across the country. Republicans have flipped 0. If he could fuck with elections like that and just make them not happen to make sure they won, how come those 28 seats have flipped? They are so afraid because they see him getting away with the big stuff that he can do within the confines of the law so far that there's very little pushback from the Republicans. Thing is, Republicans are already starting to look at, a world post Donald Trump. That's why the SAVE Act is dead in the Senate. They won't kill the filibuster for the SAVE Act like Donald Trump wants because they know at some point there's going to be a time when the Democrats are back in control of the Senate. And there's going to be a Democratic president at some point in the future, and they are going to want to have the filibuster there to protect them, to make sure that they can go ahead and block whatever the Democratic president wants to do. They're already looking past them. And people that are so afraid of what Donald Trump could do, they're forgetting that, he's tried an executive order on voting. It was one of the first things he did. Court blocked it, and the DOJ really never appealed it. They let the block stand. And he might try another one. They're just going to look at the previous block and go, yeah, blocked again. Try again, motherfucker. The whole thing is worried about it. Howard says we still have to live with all this stupidity after he's gone. We will have to live with some of it.
Oh, yeah, we know that.
But it's going to be, the next Democratic president is going to have a lot of work to do to fix everything. And the problem is, what I'm afraid of, is that it's not going to be fixed. It's going to be, not fixed fast enough for a lot of voters. And they're going to say, well, see, they couldn't fix it fast enough. Let's put the Republicans back in charge. That's what I'm afraid
of.
But
I don't think that's going to happen because Republicans are so screwed to pooch. So screwed to pooch because they can't govern. They don't have solutions. So they're going to say, yeah, they haven't done it fast enough. We'll do it faster. Well, you didn't do it the last time. How are you going to do it? We'll do it. People aren't going to buy that shit. That's how we ended up like this. I mean, that's the thing. They did it. They have so screwed themselves with the culture wars, and no worry, it'll be 2 weeks from now, that even if it takes a while to rebuild, they don't have a strategy that's going to work again because people will remember how this happened. And the thing too, if talking about elections, if Republicans were not worried about elections, why are they resigning? Not running again? Why is one of them turned independent? Okay? Yeah. If they are not worried about it, okay, then why are they reacting like they did? Now, a lot of them are holding on because they believe Trump is a lucky rabbit's foot, and then all of a sudden, ooh, he's going to flip it, but I don't see it this time. Even Democrats infighting in Texas, okay? Texas has become basically a microcosm of progressives v. Democrats overall, okay? As soon as Jasmine Crockett lost that primary, everyone either abandoned it or went after James Tallarico. And I'm listening to these people. Some of it is because they feel like another black lady got screwed, okay? Some of them are just progressives who want the perfect candidates. But let me make this clear. Either fix that shit or you're going to get Ken Paxton as Senator of Texas. And that man is, I just can't even describe him as a man. I've never seen anyone who's committed crimes, ethnic crimes, real crimes, still be beloved in that state. That is ridiculous. for Texas.
Yeah.
I don't
I
get
mean,
you when it comes to that.
what I'm pissed about is the number of people, and we've seen it, where they're mad about Talrico winning. They wanted Crockett or whatever. And they're saying, well, we're just not going to vote. We're going to show the Democrats. We're going to
Yeah,
prove it to them again. You know what? That doesn't
yeah,
fix anything. It doesn't solve the problem. Conceding the vote and saying, I'm not going to vote. We saw what happened in 2016. The Bernie bros wanted Bernie, and they were mad that Bernie didn't get the nomination. And the thing is, Bernie didn't, he straight up did not have the delegates to win, period. The super delegates weren't even going to be a factor in the Democratic nomination at the convention. Hillary had enough delegates. Bernie should have dropped out and endorsed Hillary prior to the convention, but he didn't. And the Bernie bros come out and say, well, we wanted Bernie. We're not going to vote now. Or we're going to, some of them even went as far as voting for Donald Trump, the guy that was completely against their own ideals of what they wanted, just to stick it to the Democrats and try to prove a point. It's not going to work.
yeah.
You go ahead, you back the candidate that the Democrats put forward, and guess what? It's a long way away for Jasmine Crockett, 6 years. Okay, but if you really want her in that position 6 years from now, let her run and primary Talrico. And then after that, if she wins the primary, let her run. Back her then. But I think Jasmine Crockett's going to land on her feet. She's going to end up in some position, probably in the next Democratic administration.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, the next Democratic administration says, you know what? We need an attorney general. Hello. I would love to her as the next attorney general. Let's light this motherfucker on fire. That would make
VP candidate.
Say again?
AG, VP candidate,
no.
Secretary of
State.
No,
not VP. VP is useless. And I say that because you don't have much oomph. You put her in the attorney general slot and just say, go for it. Oh, there will be no hesitations this time. She'll clean house. She'll take care of business. The point is, I get the disappointment, okay? And I understand that part of it is that one video of that white Texas lady who said how much she loved Jasmine Crockett but voted for Talrico because she figured he's the one that could win in Texas. I don't think she was being racist. I thought she was, well, maybe she is to an extent, but played it off as practicality. I mean, I get it. But the thing about it is, if you're going to cut your nose off to spite your face, what good is that going to do? And I don't want to see that around the country. I don't think we're seeing that now. Okay? And the point is, look, you're not going to get everything you want. Get what you can, then you can fix the rest down the line. But if the midterms do not turn the way we want, if Republicans carry the midterms, it's fucking over. The Republicans over, because those guys are going to have carte blanche to do whatever they want, and it's going to get ugly and nastier. And what Constitution? I mean, that's a fact.
I just don't see the midterms going the Republicans' way. I think
I don't either, but
I think the Republicans lose the House of Representatives. I mean, all it would take is 4 seats. 4. Based on what's currently there. Actually 3, because you have Mickey Sherrill's seat in New Jersey, which is already a Democratic stronghold. So that one's probably going to go to a Democrat anyway. If they can hold all of their seats, and so far, as we've talked about several times, Democrats have flipped 28 seats nationwide. Republicans have flipped 0 since Donald Trump has become president. The odds of Republicans flipping a bunch of seats is not going to happen. Everything he's doing is unpopular. I just think
and he can't come back from it. He has no solutions for it.
No.
He said, we're going to lower gas prices. How? How are you going to bring things affordable? You put tariffs on everything to make it more expensive. You started a war that raised the price on the one commodity, the one thing that drives the economies of the world, and thinking that not that the repercussions are zero. You And that's the thing. He has no solutions. And all the Republicans talk about is transgender. That's their solution. Or Islamophobia. Yeah, Sharia law is coming to the country again. The fuck? Here in Georgia, we got a candidate running around like that. What are you talking about? It's just
We've heard
insane.
about Sharia law. I remember hearing about it. I want to say, I could be getting it wrong.
90s.
Well, we heard about it, I remember, during the Obama administration. Or when Obama, I think it was during Obama's first term, and that they were trying to say that Obama was going to allow it to be Sharia law to take over Oklahoma, I think is what it was. If I remember right.
Yeah, it's just...
And you know what? It was bullshit. The thing is, for a lot of, now maybe I'm wrong because I'm not Muslim, but a lot of the things that are in Sharia law apply to people of the Muslim faith, and it's how they are supposed to live their lives and what they are supposed to do. And it'd be no different than you saying, well, I'm going to follow the Bible. Okay, cool. You're going to follow the rules set out in the Bible. Effectively, same thing. Different laws, different rules, but it applies to you personally. They're not trying to push it forward to make it any sort of national thing.
I mean, they're talking about extremes. Okay, you can have within each religion you have some things you should follow, but it's the extremists that take it to the next point. And the thing about it, I watched that video of the of this frickin' Georgia candidate talking about, you can't do this, women can't drive, women can't go this. And I watched that going, but isn't that what far-right Christians want for women? Isn't that the same fucking thing? They show like a bunch of guys at the end shooting off guns in the air and go, what's the difference? Just put red hats on them and beards. They're all the same. The religious extremists are no different because they all do the same thing. They suppress your civil rights and they suppress women's rights. And men are in charge. It doesn't matter if you slap Judaism, Islam, Christianity on it. Hell, Buddhism or Hinduism. The extremists are all the same. Period. Because they don't give you the worship you're supposed to do. It's about power. Evangelicals are about power. Evangelicals don't give a shit about Christianity or Christ. It's about power. Always about power and money. Why are there mega churches? There shouldn't be mega churches. They don't do anything. They don't help the poor. They really don't. Why don't I see mega churches open and feeding the poor? There is a mosque in India where they feed the poor. They can come and get a meal basically 24 hours a day. All the money goes into feeding these people a meal. They have sittings every few hours. I forgot the name of it. I saw this. Maybe it was an Anthony Bourdain thing. But it was amazing. They were of faith, but they were feeding the poor. And they don't even ask whether or not you're rich or not. Come have a meal. Do you see that in a mega church? Never seen that in a mega church.
Or another one you get a lot of is, are you a member of our church? And, sorry, you're not a member? Well, we can't help you. That happens a lot.
I mean, and if you're a pastor and someone mentions Joel Osteen, why is he a multi-billionaire, a millionaire? Why? Okay, why? It's just like, that's not, and then you turn around and judge other people. You judge other people's lifestyles. You don't want them to love who they want. You don't want them to live like they want. You don't you don't follow Christ's teachings. You just want money and power. And that's the biggest thing. I mean, I'm sorry. So yeah, good point, Bluebird. He would not open his church during that flood in Texas. When they had that flood in Dallas, he wouldn't open the churches for people to run to. He wouldn't do it. No, I mean, that's not being charitable. That's not being Christian. All right, and you can argue that. I don't want to hear your arguments because I've talked with these people before. They're not Christ-like. They don't follow Jesus. And the idea that they want to bring Jesus back by causing Armageddon, you really don't want to do that because he'll show up and go, I'm really pissed now. I'm not happy with you guys. Because their idea of Jesus is not what we were taught. At least I was taught in the Bible. So, and that's the thing. We have, with the war, we have a religious component that's like, oh my God. Really? In the military? These guys are serious, which brings us back to, I know it's crazy, but if someone gets in Trump's ear and he has an office of evangelicals next to him in the White House, in the Oval Office, if they decide it's time to purify the land, God help us all, literally. These guys are crazy enough to do it. They really are, waiting for God to take them. I mean, I'm afraid that it's getting to the point, it's going to be like that line from Watchmen. You're going to be the smartest man on the cinder. I mean, shit. And that's the whole thing about this, Eric. You have to admit, for all the practical and logic, we can talk about it. There's so much chaos around it, you don't know what to grip. It's chaos around him every damn day in that White House at the Pentagon.
Oh, yeah, 100% chaos. I mean, he listens to whoever pats him on the back, tells him he's a genius, and, oh, you'll look like a winner if you do this. It's just a thing, right? Like, he's going to be gone soon, and the worse he gets, there's something is probably going to happen here shortly with the dementia, where he is going, like his comment about the 6-year-old. He's going to say something like that again, where he's going to let something slip, probably related to Epstein, that he isn't going to realize he even said. And Republicans are going to have no choice but to move on him.
Will they? Honestly.
Probably.
Will they? I mean,
I saw
look at him. Listen to him.
Well, I saw.
I mean, do you really think there's some with some harder ethics left? I mean, tell me.
What somebody else was talking about, and I kind of agree with it, I just don't remember who was saying it, is that it's about the primaries at this point. It is you get past primary season, and those that are staying, if they win their primary, they got nothing to lose at that point. They're going to be on that November ballot, and they're going to they could make a stand. Or hell, if a bunch of them lose their primary, that's even worse for Donald Trump. Because then they really have nothing to lose. You add that with all the ones that are retiring, it wouldn't take that many to side with Democrats to oust Donald Trump at this point. As far as an impeachment charge in the House, it would take four Republicans is all it would take to side with all Democrats. Because they just have a majority. They are at 218.
Right.
It would take 20 Republicans in the Senate to side with him to get him removed. But you know what? It's possible. I mean, Representative Dan Bacon from Omaha said like a month and a half ago when they were talking about Greenland and Donald Trump was talking about maybe using the military in Greenland. He goes, let's have he goes, if he puts the military into Greenland, we have the votes to impeach and remove him. He said remove. He didn't say just impeach and charge, which means they're having conversations
So,
behind closed doors.
so let's talk about if he decides because he's desperate. Okay, right now everything's desperate. The Iranian war is spinning out of its control. What if he decides that the only way to bring him back is to put boots on the ground in an invasion targeted at Iran, or he said to hold some land in Iran for a base, and that turns, which would turn into a disaster. Because when they asked the Iranian foreign minister that, and everyone, if you haven't seen this, look it up. They asked him, I think it was a European broadcast, are you worried about Americans putting boots on the ground? And he said calmly, no, we are ready. And I sat there, and even the guy said, whoa, because normally we're used to, you know, bluster and, the infidels and all that. Do you remember during the Iraqi war, they had that weird general who would say that, lie about everything, about the strength of the Iraqi forces? During the Kuwait war, we're going to do this, or during the Iraqi war, we're going to do this and this. It was all lies. No, he just said,
Desert Storm,
we're ready.
Were you talking?
No, I'm talking the Iraq war, the Iraqi Shield, not Desert Shield, the Iraq war.
You're talking 91?
The Iraq war. 91, yeah. When we first invaded, do you remember that guy who would always come on and talk about Saddam's troops?
He was like knee-high to a grasshopper.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting. Yeah, this guy would come out. He was literally the caricature of a general, and he would come out and say, we will stop the infidels. It was really a caricature. Okay, so what that guy expected at on the news desk was the same thing. What he got was, no, we are ready. We've been ready. What he got was a scary, scary omen. Because literally the only thing I thought about was, I'm your Huckleberry. They're ready. You land, if he does that, let's say he does that, because again, 1 a.m, he says, let's drop the 82nd and 101 in there and a few Marines. And they do it. And a lot of people die. What do Republicans do then? That's bad. How do they react?
I think Republican lawmakers are more willing to let this play out for now, as Donald Trump doing, because they can still spin the narrative, they can still win things this way, and as long as it stays a fight within, it's basically missiles at this point, right? That's all we're doing.
Right.
Drones,
yeah, it's
as
basically.
long as it's, and maybe, yes, we've had some casualties because our bases have gotten hit, but we're not doing boots on the ground. We're not doing a conventional war. They can excuse it and say, well, we're not putting American lives really at risk doing this. The minute boots go on the ground, I think Republican lawmakers are going to have to answer a tough question. And he's doing it in an election year. If this was last year, they'd be more willing to go along with what he's doing. But every day, November's getting closer. Every single day. And they're worried about getting their seats reelected. Now, some of them have already said, fuck it, I'm done.
Right.
Iowa's Joni Ernst is a good example. She said a bunch of dumb shit, and she realized she couldn't win re-election. She says, right before they passed the One Big Beautiful Bill, that one of her constituents asked her at a town hall, I depend on my Medicaid to live. What am I going to do if you cut Medicaid? And she goes, well, we're all going to die anyway. And
yeah,
then
that was brilliant.
It,
just fucking brilliant.
Well, right after they passed it, a mother went up to her at the Iowa State Fair and said, hey, my child needs Medicaid to live. And it's done this and this and this and this and this for their medical needs. And you guys have just cut it. There's a good chance we're not going to qualify anymore. What do you expect us to do? And she goes, I'll take it under advisement. And those two comments alone were enough for her to decide she couldn't win and not get reelected. But as November gets closer, you're going to see these Republicans worried about wanting to get exactly the right message out and getting caught. Like, if he puts boots on the ground, they are probably going to be willing to turn on him because they think it'll help them in November. It's not, but they think it will, because there's not a lot Republicans can do at this point to actually save themselves in November. He has ruined too much.
Yeah, Dwayne Seven, good comment. No one knows the terrain in Iran. I think it's suicidal to put troops in there. That is mountainous terrain. That is a big country. And they know it better than we would. It would be a disaster of epic proportions. Okay? It just would be, I can't even imagine what it would be, and especially because they won't have a plan.
No.
They won't have a plan. There'll be no plan, no idea what to do, no objective.
If we had competent people at the top, one, we wouldn't be in this mess to begin with. But
I was going to say that. Go on.
But if we had to go into a ground war in Iran, but we had a competent president, a competent secretary of defense, because I refuse to call them the secretary of war until Congress makes that name change. And in fact, and I know they're under orders to do it, but when I see these generals refer to him as the Secretary of War or calling it the War Department, I cringe. And I never served, but it's not its name. It's like,
no.
If we had competent people
that makes them
sick.
Top,
we might have a chance. But the simple fact is, you got Pete Hegseth, who probably thinks it's like a Call of Duty map. And, we'll just we'll throw some people in there, and if it doesn't work, we'll throw more at them, and we'll just, we'll respawn, no big deal. No, that's not how that works. Like, it's going to be a finite resource. And, people they're having trouble getting numbers in for the Army right now, especially now that they're talking about, potentially being into a ground war. So, and if they Congress would have to institute the draft, but oh my God, could you imagine what would happen in November if they bring the draft back? You could
wouldn't even be November. Oh, it wouldn't be until November. This country would burn down. This country would go crazy. Because let me put it this way: for someone who remembers the draft as a kid, all right, from because 62, 68 I was 6 years old, 7 years old, so it was kind of understood. I knew something was going on because I knew a lot of my friends or family, or not family, but neighbors were going into Vietnam. But I knew about the protest. I knew what was going on. But at that time, boomers were just really happy to shovel their kids into that funnel. They set of parents, millennials and Xers, oh, hell no. They would be the first out there to stop them. They're not going to do it. They won't do it. All right, because they see there's no, as that Marine sergeant said, who got his arm broken for speaking the truth, not going to fight for Israel. That's what they see. Don't see any benefit to the United States. There is no benefit here. We're not defending everyone. No, don't sell me that Iran was a threat to the United States. Okay, maybe an existential threat, but not an immediate threat. There was nothing threatening us for this war. That's the thing that pisses everyone. People with common fucking sense know. We were not an immediate threat with Iran. No, there was no WMD. No, there was no nuclear weapons. Were they doing existential stuff with terrorism? Yes, but there's other ways to deal with that. That's why we had intelligence services that were intelligence before. And that's what everyone is like, you can't sell this. You can't sell it. The more you try to sell it, the more stupid you sound. Republicans can't sell it, and they're trying. They really are trying. They're failing miserably. Um,
Well,
how do you
and
solve
I
this?
think,
You can't.
well, and I think with like if you could go back to Vietnam, but if you could take modern technology to Vietnam with cell phones and social media and all of it, I don't think there would have been nearly the people who were okay with the draft. Like it was already bad. There were
No.
already protests and stuff. But you wouldn't have seen
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't have been able to spin it the way they did now. And if Republicans think they can spin it and control the narrative, they got something else, coming.
Well,
It's not going to
here's a
work the
good.
same way if they end up having to
Well,
impose a draft.
well, here's a good question. If the draft's so great, why did the president get 5 fucking deferments?
Because that's easy as a
Okay.
chicken shit.
Yeah, that's the thing. Where's his son? Yeah, where's your
Oh,
8-year-old, 9-year-old? Why is he not in the military? Why
oh,
hasn't he joined?
he's too tall. He's too tall.
Fuck that.
That's their latest
All right.
excuse. I mean,
I mean,
I know
God.
personally several veterans who served who were I'm trying to remember how tall she was. I want to say she was somewhere between 4'10" to 5 foot, and she served. This was 15-ish years ago, but she served, and she had to have. There was some of her gear that, because of her height, had to be custom made. That she didn't have to turn back in, but still, she served. You know if they can do that, you can send somebody tall. It's not a thing.
No, it's not a
It's
thing. And
just an excuse. He's going to have genetic bone spur.
how convenient. It's all. I mean, I don't. And that's the thing. I listen to him try to sell it every day. Pete Hesketh trying to sell it every day. By the way, don't take pictures of Pete anymore at his press conferences. He doesn't like the way he looks. Doesn't like the way he looks.
I
You
wouldn't like
know,
the way I looked either if I was hungover every day.
God. I mean, there's such a lack of decorum with these guys. There's lack of professionalism. He treats this like, as I said earlier before you came on, he treats it like a Fox News segment. All right, it's you're in charge of the military, and the $95 billion in crab legs is a bit much, bro. It doesn't look good. I,
If
I
that
mean,
is
how do you sell
legitimately
that?
true, how do you justify that when you are cutting off millions, not even billions, I don't think, but when you're cutting off millions of dollars in funding for food stamps and WIC and things like that, saying, well, they're the problem, they're
Mhm.
the reason the debt's going up, they're causing all this fraud. It was never about fraud. It was about punishing poor people. It was very
Oh yeah,
simply about, and it was about convincing poor white people that they were better than poor minority people. And that
which is
clearly,
what Johnson.
go ahead.
Yeah, that's clear. No, I'm saying that's what Johnson said when he started the war on poverty. Was that you know if you convince a poor white guy that he's better than a poor black man, a rich man can empty his pockets, and
Yep.
that's I mean that was back in the early '60s. He knew it, and you know what? That hasn't changed.
Well, no,
That
what they
hasn't
were
changed.
doing is they were trying to convince people that, oh, well, we're going to cut all this funding from food stamps, trying to make it, we're going to cut the waste and the fraud, etc., because, oh, all of these minorities are using it and they shouldn't get their benefits. Oh, but you poor white guy, you getting your food stamps, you're justified in getting it. At least that's what they heard. We're not going to touch yours.
Right,
But what they don't
right.
realize is it's going to affect them all equally. And it is amazing to see some of the videos from these right-leaning creators talking about, oh, I was just at the grocery store, and oh, the food stampers, oh, they're lining their carts. How do you know? They don't have to carry the paper. They haven't had to carry the paper books in almost 20 years. It's all been card. How do you know unless you're
Right.
standing right behind them and watching how they pay and paying attention to what card they swipe, how do you know? You don't. You're assuming based on who they are that they are on food stamps and you're watching what they eat. I mean, here in Iowa, it comes out to something like I think it's like $3. What is it? I think low end. I think it's like $200 a month or something like that, which comes out to
Right. It's
basically you got to feed yourself for $3 a day per person.
yeah.
$3 a day, and you're telling me that they're eating good? I mean, you got to
Well,
make
it's
choices
a
on where
sup-
what you can stretch just to make that
a lot
work.
of them. A lot of them are just working steps. This is a supplement. This is a supplement because they didn't make enough, and now it's going to get worse as prices go up for the poor and the working poor. For gas prices go up, food prices go up, and again, this is the war on poverty has become the war on the poor because they have to justify all their fucking tax cuts, and then again they flaunt it every weekend down in Mar-a-Lago when they fucking suck up, Trump's air and they have parties and they eat caviar and everyone looks at it and it basically says, fuck you. That's what they're telling to the American people. The majority of us
Yep.
understand that. It's just that unfortunately, when it comes down to people are going, well, what can we do? I mean, why aren't they doing anything? Because Mike Johnson and Congress have basically backed away. When they asked Johnson about the war, I'm not getting involved in it. We're not going to get involved in it. Motherfucker, you're the Speaker of the House. Congress has war powers. How are you not involved in this? But that's his job. His job is to run interference for Trump. And that's where we're at.
110%. That's
Yeah,
exactly
and
what
now,
he's doing.
and then, and what happens is, especially with left wing content, very left wing content, they go after the Democrats. What are the Democrats going to do? What are they going to do? They can't fucking do a thing. Now, would I like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer would be a little more boisterous and not be defensive? It would be nice. Okay, don't try to straddle the line
Something,
between Israel and that. Something like that. And I get people's frustration, but I keep and you keep throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Okay, this, and I'm not saying, trust me, the DNC is not perfect, and I'm glad David Hogue is going after them hardcore during the primaries. He should. You should chill for progressive candidates who are going to make a difference in November because Republicans don't have an answer for them. I'm sorry, that's not true, think tank. Progressive Democrats are winning. That's how they're flopping seats by 60 points in elections. That's not even fucking close. Okay, the old ways isn't working. Now, when the election's over, everyone's got to get together and go, okay, now we know what the target is and run with what we have. Again, my biggest fear is what happened in Texas is almost a microcosm of what we may face in the general election with people being all pissy and not getting together. That worries me. That's a concern.
One of the things is if you look at history, and I do that a lot when I compare things, 'cause I've always loved history. You look at what happened in the 1920s, early 1930s, when we had the Great Depression.
Right.
You would call by 1930s standards, you would call FDR an extreme progressive, and he
Oh, hell
won
yes.
on common what we now would think of as common sense, but taking care of people, food stamps, Social Security, banking reform, and putting people to work. That's what he ran on, and Democrats controlled Congress and the presidency basically for 20 years straight, based on that kind of
Right.
a far left, what was considered then a far left ideal. Now that
Right.
ideology isn't far enough left, but you can run on that progressive idea and you can win. Historically, it is proven. And the worse
Yes.
things get, the easier it is going to be for that far left ideology to win. I've been saying in 28, the candidate for the Democrats needs to run on a New Deal style platform.
Yes, it has to be. And here's the thing: this is how far out FDR was. You probably know this. There was an attempted coup by some people of the military on FDR because a very bunch of very rich people were afraid FDR was going to basically ruin their lives. So they had recruited members of the military to overthrow Roosevelt in the White House, kind of like a silent coup. And they had come to a Marine general who was a big Marine general of World War I to help them out. And he stood with the Constitution and ratted them out. But here's the thing: they never went to jail. It never was heard of. It's like this little. Look it up, guys. You'll find it. There's a book on it. They were supposed to do a movie on it, but it vanished. There's this little snippet in history. Why did it vanish? Easily. Because what Roosevelt did is said, fine, I'm not going to put you in jail, but you got to support everything I do. You had to get behind me and the politicians. Now, he didn't get everything he wanted. The Supreme Court pushed back on a lot of his stuff, the really extreme stuff. But, yeah, say again?
To a point. But he also told the Supreme Court.
To a point.
You start backing you start throwing my stuff out, I'm backing the court. I'll take it to 15.
Back
I'll
in the
take
court.
it to
He talked about
I don't
that.
care. He said, you're going to back me or else. He didn't care.
Yeah, and the point with that too is that, but that's how far left he was. That they literally had a coup, almost a coup, but except for one Marine. And the point was that he used it to his advantage too. Yeah, the New Deal, the New Deal is simple: return what we are and then give a little bit more. That's all it is. Because all you have to do is take the war on poverty that Johnson did as a supplement to the New Deal and expand it a bit and then throw in universal health care and everybody would be happy. Because like I told Mike in one of my podcasts with him, people, they fight universal health care. Corporations fight universal health care. But the amount of taxes they would pay to bring universal health care or Medicare for all. Let's call it that, Medicare for all, okay? If you want a little more, get a supplement. Fine. If you did that, then you won't have to supplement insurance for your workers. That's a cost to you, which is more than paying the extra taxes. So as a corporation, it allows you to make more profit and people are happier and you can pay more wages, which keeps people working. And you don't have turnover. These are smart moves. This is easy shit. And it's not that expensive, but we're stuck on socialism and communism and bullshit like that.
Well, what I would say is if you had a time machine, you could go back and ask the founding fathers about their idea of health care for everybody. If you could explain it to them in a way they would understand, they would find it asinine that we are arguing at this point in time, 250 years later, about whether or not sick people should get medicine. If they would find it dumb that we are arguing about that. I mean, you'd have to explain it to them in a way they could understand. But I even saw a case here recently, here on TikTok, where they were talking about a lawsuit coming up, or maybe it helped because of the algorithm. Who knows how long ago it was. But somewhere there was a 20-year-old-ish guy who went to his doctor, got an inhaler for asthma. Went to the pharmacy, went to go get the script, and was denied by the pharmacy benefits manager, part of the insurance, and said, well, you should go back to your doctor and get, try all of these other treatments first for your asthma. And we're not going to pay for your inhaler. But couldn't afford, and then because the inhaler was going to be like $500 or $600, something like that, without insurance, couldn't afford it. Less than a month later, had an asthma attack and died over an inhaler.
Right. And part of it is that um, a lot of these insurance companies are using AI to do their benefits, and so the AI it's done on a different set of parameters that doesn't work for everyone. Yeah, that's ignorant because he's been using the same inhaler, and someone's going to save some money. You're not going to save that much money. That's the thing. And yeah, that's not going to look good. And it counts in the insurance company. I've been lucky what's going on with my family that my insurance company actually is working with us. I've been lucky. Okay. They haven't fought us in anything. We haven't had one of those nightmare scenarios. They actually told me I had supplemental insurance I didn't know we have that's going to, once we turn into medical, it's going to help us with financial issues. That's my insurance company. I'm lucky. I am lucky with this company. Well, be honest, it's Cigna, what I'm dealing with. My previous one was United Health, and I can see why my company dumped United Health now. Um, but the point being is that we won't have that problem anymore. We wouldn't have that problem in universal health care. You could adjust. You would have competent. No, I mean, part of it is you got to get rid of the incompetency, i.e., RFK. But you would have competent people running this thing, and then you would break the monopolies as AOC showed. You have monopolies of CVS running, pharmacies and doctors and all that. So it becomes a monopoly. You got to break that. We'll break it all eventually, but it would make so much more sense. For God's sake, guys.
Well, yeah. I mean, universal healthcare would be a step in the right direction for everybody. I mean, insurance was originally offered as an option because companies couldn't afford to continue to raise wages. So they threw it out there as a benefit. Well, I'm going to cover your insurance. And now it sounds great, right? It sounds like, oh man, instead of I get this health insurance benefit, and if I get sick, but ever since the introduction of insurance, healthcare prices have continued to go up and up and up and up, and the benefits have continued to go down as they're making more and more money. It is so ungodly stupid of what we're dealing with here in this country. We would not have to pay that much more in individual taxes per person to give everybody universal health care. But
it's not even us.
We're stuck in this idea that, it's socialism, or it's this, or it's that. No, it's not. Or hell, I was talking to somebody. They were, I think it was 9 months out getting a specialist appointment. And they said, well, if you go to universal healthcare, you have to wait months to go see a specialist. I go, how long out was your appointment already? He's like, they're about 9 months out. And your point? We're already waiting.
It's the same thing. I mean, look, it's not perfect, but no system is perfect. But it's a lot better. Let's put it this way. The ACA was not perfect, but guess what? The ACA was better than nothing. What do we have now? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They killed the subsidies. For what? There was no reason to do that. They killed the subsidies because Trump didn't like Obamacare. It's all about Obamacare. Obama had this. I want this. And he doesn't have a plan that works. His plan is ridiculous. He has no plans. And the only plan they had was something that Oz came up with, a out-of-pocket deductible up to $31,000. That's not insurance. That's ridiculous. So, I mean, it can work. Queen of CGVs, to send money to Israel, who has universal health care. Yeah, I know. They get, this is just a leftover from socialism. And I will tell you this, if you look it up, one of the reasons that they did not do universal health care in the 50s, because there was opportunity for it, is because they did not want people of color to have it. They wanted it to be exclusively for You know that. That's one of the things that the war on poverty tried to solve was a balance between the poor, the rich, and color, where poverty didn't see color. Unfortunately, it sees color. Um, yeah, so Heskett can spend 93 billion on luxuries, but we can't have Snap. Actually, if you think about it, if you take just half of that and split it between Snap and ACA, that would have covered the majority of ACA subsidies.
What I want to know with that 93 billion is where is it coming from? Because what budget
It,
are they pulling it from? And
oh,
what is getting church funded now?
oh, here's the thing. This you're gonna love this story. I love this. The reason is that they have excess money they don't know what to spend on. They had no plan. They gave them $1 trillion budget, but no plan how to spend it. And he had to spend that money in that month to justify their spending, their funding overall. So instead of putting the money, here's the thing I'm going to say. Yeah, federal budgets use or lose. My point was, if you can't do it like SNAP or anything else, well, give a bonus to troops. Put it in some other thing to help, well, military members. All he did was spend money looking at, I can do whatever I want. Okay? I can do whatever I want. That's the problem with this fucking administration. A lot of these people do what they want and spend the money. Look at Kristi Noem, how much she spent. For what? And that bed still, that plane bed was too much. That was too much, even for Republicans. That was too much.
Well,
give me a break.
With them living on the budget and you ever be use or lose and having to justify it, yeah, the whole thing is dumb. It's like,
yeah, it's dumb.
You should have had a better plan for it. But the problem is, Republicans for years have tied the military into patriotism. And you don't support giving the military more money, you're unpatriotic. So they had to give them more money. But then you basically gave the kids a blank check and said, here, go do whatever you want. And we're seeing the result of it. It is stupid. And as far as the bonus to the troops, well, they tried that, right? Donald Trump comes out and says, we're giving you guys a bonus. But what he did instead was he took money from a different account, lowered the amount, and basically said, oh, you're getting this bonus instead. So he took something from them. It was for their housing bonus. Took the housing bonus and said, yeah, you're not getting that anymore. You're getting this other bonus that we're giving you. And aren't I great for doing it?
Right. I mean, but that was money that was just sitting there that he had to use. But the way he used it, as one person said, the amount of money he used on food, like I think it was $50 million, was more than some military budgets in some countries. It's the insanity. And it's not anything new. I remember when Reagan first came into office and they were building up military contractors, the stories of the $2,000 toilet, okay, on an aircraft or a military base. I know these things. This is not new. But it just seems so egregious and basically insulting to the American people when this came out. And you can't hide it. The receipts are there. I mean, you bought a piano for an Air Force officer. What, a $30,000 grand Steinway? That's not military equipment. I mean, that's the military. What the hell? I mean, these are people with very, very small brains and have no idea how to handle everything.
No, they have no clue what's going on when it comes to most of it. And we've given them the keys to the kingdom. And that's going to come back to roost. They're going to get caught. Midterms are going to happen. But I think when we get to the end of it, and we get to the end of this administration, we need to go ahead and have a forensic account of all things involving this administration, of all things financial, and have them figure out where all the money went, line by line, piece by piece, and make it so they have to account for all of it So we know, as the American people, where our money went and how much of it was misspent, and those that misspent any of it should be charged and held accountable.
Right, for stealing. I mean, and the first
110%.
person the first person they should bring in is everyone who worked for Doge because they stole money. And we won't even talk. Eventually, historians are going to find out how much Trump and the Trump family stole from the United States government. Billions.
Yeah.
They've made themselves rich on. Generational wealth. The good thing about Trump and this ending is that Trump is so worried about his legacy. As just so you know, guys, I'm bringing it to an end because it's almost 2 hours, and I didn't mean to go do 2 hours. The good thing about the end of the Trump regime is that Trump keeps saying, "I'm going to leave a legacy." The only thing what's going to happen, anything he leaves, we're going to rip out and burn and take out and reset in history. He will not be a great historical figure. He'll be a what's the best word to look for?
Pariah?
Pariah. All right, and that's another thing to all those MAGAs. You're going to become persona non grata. If you voted for Trump 3 times, you're done. I mean, everything you might as well just say, hey, what's your political? I don't want to talk about it. As soon as you say that, we'll know what you're talking about. And
Exactly.
did you see that lady? She was in Ireland, in a pub in Ireland, and they asked her who she voted for in Ireland, and she got upset and walked out because she didn't want to answer it because it wasn't their business. No, the Irish know what they wanted. They wanted to know if we should worry about you. I mean, that's what you guys are. But you don't like it. Tough. You're part of the causes of it. So
Yeah, I
here
heard
we
about
are.
that he had tried to like hide the fact she was MAGA or some bullshit, and it didn't work.
Nope. And it
Um,
didn't work because she goes, "Who do you vote for? What? That's none of your business." Okay, you just told me who you voted for.
exactly.
I mean, just own
Like
it.
they're gonna
At least,
become. It's gonna be a thing where just like being a member of the Klan or anything else, by the end, when Donald Trump is gone, they're gonna get pushed back into their closet. Their Trump gear is gonna be hidden away, and you're not going to know. They're going to try to say, "Oh, we never supported him. We didn't do that."
yeah, and yeah, it's not going to work. And hopefully, we'll get there as we went through this morass of chaos. All right, guys, thanks for hanging in there. This is probably the longest live I did. Hopefully, it'll upload. The last time it didn't, and I can get it out on YouTube. Eric, since you're working on stuff, where can they find you, my friend?
Well, obviously here, but you can find me on YouTube, Spotify, and Blue Sky, all under Analytical Iowa. Same
Mhm.
name,
And
also
again,
linked in bio. So
there you
that
go.
makes it easy to find me.
And then you can get a hold of me again right here on TikTok, RJ127, or you can reach me, Binder38US on YouTube and on Substack. I do have a paid subscription on Substack. If you want to help this poor guy get through another day, I would love for you to subscribe. It's really a small amount of money per month. It helps me support what I do here. If you want to send me a message, 470-236-2403. You can send me a text there. That'd be great. And also, you want to email me is KUMQUAT, the number 6 at the outlook.com. Eric, it's always nice to speak to you. Come up. Everyone, thanks for hanging in there. We will talk to you soon. And be safe, okay?